Here we have an image which has some very unsightly power lines and poles in the background. We want to remove these lines, and it's going to be very easy using the clone stamp tool. The clone stamp tool is right here in the toolbar, and it works very simply. What we do is position the mouse over an area that we want to make a sample of. Hold down the Alt key or the Option key and click. That area is now sampled. And then when we click and drag with the mouse, notice that we are now drawing a sample or a duplicate or a clone of that same area. Notice as the crosshairs is telling us where we're drawing from, and the circle is telling us where we're drawing. We don't want to draw the aircraft in the sky, so we're going to undo that. Now we want to apply what we've just learned to these lines. What we're going to do is sample little bits of the clouds and replace the areas with the lines in them. First thing we want to do, though, is we want to protect the edge of this aircraft because we don't want that to be damaged. So just choose the magnetic lasso tool and then just click and then just move that tool along the edge and it will detect the edge. To add a point, just click again. This is a really handy little tool. And then we'll just go anywhere in here because we just want to. And now to close the selection, you'll move it over the start point and see that little circle? Click. Now becomes a selection. Now this area is selected. The rest of this image, I'll show you what can happen here. If I get a brush tool, if I draw now, I can only paint on the selected area. So what we want to do is inverse that selection so everything is selected except for the area we've just selected. So we just go select, inverse. And now if I paint, notice I can paint everywhere except for on our aircraft, which is what we want to do. We want to protect these edges as we're brushing out these lines. Choose the clone stamp tool. Increase the size a little bit. Hold down the Alt or the Option key on the Mac. Make a sample. And now just begin to paint out the lines. Want to stop there, we want to take another sample. And notice we just do little short dabs before we resample. Because if we were to do too much at once, we're going to get a repeating pattern which is going to be obvious. And it's going to make it obvious to all that we've just retouched this image. And the goal of good retouching is to be invisible so that people don't know that we've retouched at all. And notice these power lines are just disappearing. This is also a great technique to use on all kinds of photographs. Works on photos of people. There may be someone in an image that you don't want to appear in that image anymore. Like perhaps a board shot, from the board of a company, and perhaps one of the board members is no longer with the company. And rather than take a new photo, we could just clone him right out. Let's make the tool a little smaller. We can change the brush size by pushing the left and the right arrow keys, bracket keys on the keyboard. And we're just getting rid of this line now. This is also a great way for getting rid of blemishes on photographs. Perhaps you may have scanned in some old photos and there's creases. You can get rid of those very easily using this tool. Or perhaps there's a corner missing and you need to rebuild part of an image. You can also do that using this clone stamp tool. It's also a fun tool for special effects. Almost done. Just sampling a little bit more of that sky. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger now. And we just want to soften that up around there. There we go. Notice a couple little bands there across the sky. Like there's one there. We just want to diminish that. Just give it a little bit more of a random appearance, so we're not making it obvious that this image is retouched. There we go. Now finally, there's this little section down here, and we need to get rid of this. Well, we can do that using the clone stamp again. We'll make the brush size a little bit smaller. I'm going to show you now how to follow an edge and get a very precision painting with this. Hold down the Alt Option key. You'll see the crosshairs. Click right on the very edge. Seeing those crosshairs meet right on the edge there. And click to take your sample. Now, move the mouse over the area we want to replace. Hold down the Alt or the Option key, but do not click. Now you see your crosshairs again. We can use those to line up the brush before we begin to paint. Release your hands off everything. Now the pointer is in exactly the right position. So click. And now we can just paint. There we go. And we get a very precise sample. And there we go. We've removed all the distracting objects from this picture. We'll zoom out so we can see the whole image. And that's how to use the clone stamp tool.